what we're going to do with Ricardo today is we're going to do a little bit of a training session with him so you can see what his training looks like. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll just talk about ocelots in general and show you some of his favorite hiding places so that the next time you come visit us here at the zoo, you'll be able to find him in some of his favorite spots. So let's go ahead and get started. If you guys have any questions throughout the chat, please feel free to go ahead and put those in the comments section and I'll answer those as best I can here in just a little bit. Are you ready? So ready. Okay. Target. Good. So he gets all sorts of different types of food items. Today he's got some ground meat meatballs and some chicks. Ricardo. Oh. You're cheating, sir. You're ahead of the game. Target. Good. Station. Good boy. So we use his food items as a form of reinforcement or something that'll increase the likelihood of a behavior happening the next time that I ask for it. Target. Ricardo. Good. Target. Good boy. Yum. Ricardo. Hello. Just gotta check out what's going on the other side. Station. Good boy. Well done, sir. So target and station, and then when I asked him to stand up high on his back legs, are a few of his basic behaviors that Ricardo knows. He's got a relatively limited repertoire right now, but we use training to work on all sorts of different things. It helps us build relationships with our animals. It also helps to keep them mentally stimulated, and we can have different types of training sessions where he might learn a new skill or a new behavior. We might use a training session to help him get his exercise. One of the things that he's working on learning right now is actually one of his husbandry behaviors, or something that'll help us take better care of him. So right now we're working on teaching him how to line up next to, perpendicular to the mesh in his inside area. And eventually we'll be able to move forward and have him line up and take a voluntary injection. So that'll be something that's really, really helpful when it comes time to giving him his yearly checkup or his annual shots. So really important things that'll help us take really good care of him in a way that'll help reduce stress. So we're gonna stand up and let him know that we're done with training time for now, but we can talk about ocelots because he's one of my favorite animals that we get to work with. This species is found right here in Texas, so they're found in the southern part of Texas, all the way down through Mexico and central and the northern parts of South America. They can be found in rainforested areas or in a habitat type that we call a chaparral, which is basically a scrubby, wooded area. Typically you'll see ocelots on the ground, but they're excellent climbers and they've even been known to swim. But you guys can see back there is that far corner where he's kind of sitting right now checking us out. That's one of Ricardo's favorite spots to hang out and sleep throughout the day. In general, ocelots are pretty nocturnal, so you'll see them mostly active at night. However, they can be active during the dawn and dusk hours of the day as well. In the daytime, he sleeps quite a bit, like a lot of cats will. But again, in their natural environment, they're a nocturnal animal. They do primarily most of their hunting at night. You guys can see his big eyes and his ears over there kind of up twitching around. He's listening to his environment, seeing all that's going on. But those are his two excellent senses that he can use. He has sight, excellent sense of hearing, and a really good sense of smell. And that's how he helps to find his prey items in the dark areas of the woods where he lives. So he's gonna have a little wash after his snack. Really cool thing about ocelots is that they historically were hunted for their coats. So, and that's an unfortunate fact about these guys, but since the 70s, their population numbers have started to grow again. However, they are still endangered in the United States due to habitat loss and habitat fragmentation. And what that means is when you have enough of their habitats, but areas in between those habitats that aren't as hospitable to that species, So they're stuck in those smaller areas of their natural habitat, and it's hard for them to cross into other areas and find other ocelots for breeding. Now, in general, ocelots are a solitary animal, so they don't come together except to breed, and once they have bred, dad kind of goes off on his own and leaves the female to raise their cubs. So they have about 2 to 3 kittens in a litter, and those cats will stay with mom for up to about 2 years before they go off and find their own home range. These guys have a typical range in their natural habitat that they generally stay within. And in the United States right now, it's estimated that there's less than 100 individual ocelots in their natural historic range left. So we would love to see these guys come back. There's several different groups that are involved in the research and conservation for ocelots. But doing research with these guys out in their natural habitat is pretty difficult. Like I said, they're very rare, they're hard to find, and they're active in the times of day when humans are not. So it's hard to find these guys out and about. A lot of the research that's being done with ocelots is actually done through what we call camera traps or trail cams. So a lot of researchers will use cameras along known pathways that ocelots have in their range, and when an ocelot passes that camera, it snaps a photo. And scientists can tell each individual ocelot apart because their spots and their patterns on their coat are unique to each individual animal. So it's kind of like their version of a fingerprint, which I think is really, really cool. So we talked a little bit about their eyes and their ears. They've got excellent senses for hunting, but these guys have a variety of different types of prey items. In their natural environment, they would go for small mammals and rodents, things like that, but also after small birds and smaller reptiles, sometimes snakes, lizards, that kind of thing. In South America, they've even been known to climb up into trees and go after smaller primates. So they're excellent climbers, they're excellent hunters and predators. Here at the zoo, Ricardo gets a variety of different types of food items. Earlier we were feeding him some ground meat, meatballs, and some chicks. He also gets a chunked red meat, so his version of a steak, which I think is his favorite. He also gets a large rat, and then he also gets a marrow bone once a week. Now the chicks and that marrow bone are really helpful to his digestion. It helps him make sure his teeth are nice and clean. What's another fun thing about ocelots is they have a very raspy, rough tongue, and that rough tongue will help him lick off every last morsel of yummy tidbit from that marrow bone. So it's very cool to give him a marrow bone in the beginning of the day, and then you come back later in the afternoon and it is completely bare. So he's excellent at getting all that yummy meat off the bones. And do we have any questions about ocelots so far?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You are being asked, how would Ricardo and other ocelots hide from predators and people who hunt them during the day?
Great question. So during the day, a lot of times they will kind of hunker down in a hollowed out tree or in a den, maybe amongst a pile of rocks. You can kind of see their hollow log out in the back of his habitat is one of his favorite hiding places. But in their natural habitat, they'd hide in little hollows or darker spaces underneath brush or underneath down trees. They have excellent camouflage. All those splotches and spots and stripes along the sides of his body help him to camouflage, especially when you're kind of in the dappled light of a forest. It really helps him to blend into his environment.
We've got several questions coming in.
Excellent.
The next question is, do ocelots like to play in the water?
That's a good question. I think that goes to each individual animal. I will say that Ocelot Ricardo over here has a small pool in his exhibit, and every once in a while we'll give him a larger pool for enrichment, but I don't know if he personally likes the water as much as other cats might, but it has been known that they do swim and occasionally will go after fish as prey as well.
What is the lifespan of an ocelot and how big do they get?
Good questions, both of those. So their average lifespan is anywhere between about 10 and 20 years. So Ricardo is about 9 years old, and we hope to have him around for a lot longer. He's a great cat, lots of fun to work with. And as to their size, in general, they can range anywhere from about 18 pounds to almost 35 pounds. So at his last checkup, Ricardo weighed around 30 pounds. So he's a pretty big kitty.
Mario would like to know if they are native here in South Texas.
Great question, Mario. They are. So, like I said, they are native here, but they're very seldom spotted. They're very hard to find. It's estimated that their population here in the United States is less than 100 individuals.
If guests were to come and try to find Ricardo in this exhibit, where are some of the places that they should look for him?
Another great question. So when we open back up and you want to come hang out and say hi to Ricardo, where he's laying right now in that back corner, kind of on the left-hand side of his habitat, that's one of his favorite spots to lay down and take a nap. But we also have about 4 different platforms throughout this exhibit, and he will spend time on all of those platforms. So if you can't see him anywhere on the ground, a really good place is to kind of hang out and just check out each platform. And some of them are a little bit harder to see through the bamboo than others. But he hangs out up high, he hangs out down low on the ground. It just takes a minute or two to find him. And even as his keeper, sometimes it takes me a minute or two to figure out where he's at. Any other questions, folks?
A couple people are asking if they're endangered.
They are endangered in the United States, and in general, their population is decreasing due to habitat loss. Hello, sir. So, they are endangered in the United States, and worldwide they are considered threatened under the ICU and Red List. Would you like another meatball, my friend? Good boy. One of my favorite things about ocelots is that little white spot on the back of their ears. I'm not sure how much it helps them to camouflage, but I think it's really cute. They've got those little white dots on the back of their ears. It almost looks like they're wearing eyeliner because they've got this beautiful pattern on their face and along the rest of their body as well. You can see he's got really big paws for his body size. That helps him to climb. And he does have claws on those feet. I don't know if you can see him when he comes back up. Target. Oh boy, you can kind of see some of those claws up there. Those would help him to catch his prey. He says, I'm going to take my chick over here and hang out. I do vocalize. I don't know if you guys can hear him. He's kind of making a rumbly, growly sound. Now, for Ricardo, that's normal. That's not necessarily a mean or aggressive sound. That's just kind of how he talks. They'll also do little hisses, and every once in a while, I will hear a little chuff, which is a bigger cat's version of a purr. He's showing off all those beautiful stripes to you guys, all those spots. So like I mentioned earlier, each one of those stripes or spots, each pattern is unique to each individual ocelot. So that's how scientists identify individuals out in their natural environment. You can tell them apart just by looking at their coat, which I think is really cool.
Now in this video, you can see that there are a few other types of animals that have kind of shown up in the background. We've seen some birds, even some howler monkeys. These guys are not all in the same exhibit, correct?
That's correct. So like I said, he is a predator. He will eat a lot of those types of animals out in their natural environment. However, here at the zoo, they are protected. We've got 2 different layers of mesh in between those 2 habitats, but I think it's really cool that he can have access to those animals visually as well as he can hear them. So that provides him with some extra stimulation or extra enrichment on the day-to-day. He can see and hear different things from other species that live here in the zoo.
What other types of enrichment do you offer him, and does he have anything that is a favorite?
Oh, that's a great question. We offer him a variety of different things. One of my favorite types of enrichment to give him is a big feeder toy. It's kind of shaped like a spool, but I can hang it in his exhibit and put little bits of his food in there, and he has to figure out how to get to his food. And sometimes he gets to it really quickly, and other times it takes him a while, so he sits there and he works at it. So it helps him to get his exercise, and he has to actually sit there and almost problem solve to figure out how am I going to get my tasty snacks out of this big toy. Other types of enrichment we'll offer him is I will take different scents and smells and spray different things in there. I've offered him things like catnip or lavender smells, Also stinky smells and even hay or other substrate from armadillos or even over in the bears. So different things for him to smell and interact with.
And Maddie, who is 8 years old, says that the ocelot is her very favorite animal and she would like to know how big they get.
That's a great question, Maddie, and he is my favorite animal too. He is about 30 pounds and they can grow to be up to 35 pounds or so. So they're about double the size of your average house cat.
I did see somebody comment earlier that their house cat is 24 pounds.
Holy cow. That's a big house kitty. That's almost as big as Ricardo. Alrighty guys, well your questions have been awesome. Thank you for tuning in with us here at the San Antonio Zoo talking about Ricardo, our beautiful ocelot. He is my favorite animal to talk about, so once we come back open, I invite you to come down here and check him out. Remember to check out his favorite hiding places so you can find him on exhibit, and keep monitoring our social media. We'll still have these videos every day and we'll keep bringing our animals to you guys at home. So we can't wait to see when we open, but in the meantime, check us out right here at Facebook. Have a great day, guys. Thanks so much.